If you're an Oklahoma fan, you have been chanting the words SEC, SEC for several years now as you have been moving into this conference, and where we have seen the SEC dominate on the football field, dominate in recruiting, dominate in all of these other sports. Oklahoma fans, you were excited to get into this conference. And over the past couple of days, you saw predictions go in favor of Oklahoma, flip back out of favor of Oklahoma, but then the intel suggests that Oklahoma might still be in this race for a specific four-star recruit. And that's what we're here to talk about today. And I want to level set with fans here because I think there was this mentality of Oklahoma was already recruiting well before they got into the SEC. You get into the SEC now, and all of a sudden, you're going to continue to recruit at just as a high level or even better because you're in the SEC. But in fact, I don't think that's 100% true because where Oklahoma and the Big 12 could get away with taking guys that were not SEC caliber players, but wanted to keep guys in state, they could get away with that in the Big 12. You can't do that in the SEC. And so Oklahoma's recruiting in terms of regions and where they're getting guys from, I think you're seeing a little bit of a change there, right? You're seeing Oklahoma maybe not take as many of the elite in-state guys that you originally thought that they would take or you want them to take. And then you see them shifting focus to other states, going towards elite talent. We're going to talk about it. Jonathan Hatton, a four-star running back out of Steele High School in, I believe it's Cibolo, Texas. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Listen, he just announced his commitment date on March 22nd. And this was one where he was committed to Oklahoma, decommitted, wanted to explore all of his options, make sure that he was making the right choice. But ultimately, you saw the predictions from Parker Thune and all of those guys, Sam Spiegelman, go in favor of Oklahoma. And then you saw them go in favor of A&M. But then over the past 24 hours, you might have heard some noise about, well, Oklahoma's not out of it. And that's what I'm here to tell you, right? Kind of following up with a couple people around Jonathan Hatton and this recruitment. Being told, feels like it's a 50-50 race. And the reason why it's felt like a 50-50 race here is felt like maybe A&M and Oklahoma are both being led on to a certain extent to kind of keep some intrigue in the recruitment, not really give away 100% where Jonathan Hatton is going. But let's just play devil's advocate here. You let Jonathan Hatton slip away and go to Texas A&M. Well, chanting SEC, thinking I'm going to get to the SEC and I'm going to recruit better hasn't necessarily panned out for you yet because you're still losing these battles to SEC schools. Now, we can make the argument that this doesn't need to be a super deep running back class for Oklahoma because your running back pool of young guys is deep. And if you can just retain those guys and get a couple of projects into the program, maybe you're going to be fine for this upcoming cycle. But you still want to get the elite talent if it's there. So you look at Jonathan Hatton and you look at where his decision could go on March 22nd. And I think Oklahoma is just as in this as Texas A&M. I think Oklahoma still has a great shot because here's the deal. He kind of announced a commitment date right after he took an unofficial visit to Oklahoma for the Future Freaks program. He has, and we always talk about following the unofficial visits. He's been to Oklahoma like 5 or 6 times, guys. Like, he has a good relationship with Brent Venables and DeMarco Murray. He knows what Oklahoma can provide him. And ultimately, at the end of the day, DeMarco Murray has done a decent job at recruiting. He just needs to do a better job at developing the running backs and showing them, listen, the schools that have produced the DeMarco Murrays, the Adrian Petersons, and so on and so forth at the running back position, the Joe Mixons of the world, that we can do that for you. I can do that for you. And so ultimately, I think as of right now, based off what I've been told, I think Jonathan Hatton will end up at Oklahoma. But let's just say he doesn't. Like, where does Oklahoma pivot? And obviously, we've talked a lot about Rylan Morris. I think Colin Kennedy over there at 247 Sports has probably been the biggest advocator for a flip to potentially happen for Rylan Morris to Oklahoma, currently committed to Baylor, 4-star athlete. Corwell 247 has him listed an athlete, but he's going to play running back. But, you want to take 2 running backs here in this class. And at the beginning of the cycle, you looked at a guy like Javian Osborne. You're kind of out of that race at this point. You're not getting back in that one. Katie Jones is the interesting one, right? Out of Jinx, Oklahoma. I'll tell you, I recently followed up with the source around Katie Jones, and I was told that Oklahoma's kind of backed off a little bit. And this might be under the impression that they think they're getting Jonathan Hatton and then going to be able to flip Rylan Morris in the official visit season. Now, when you look at Katie Jones being the in-state prospect, a Tulsa product, obviously a lot of Oklahoma fans, him being an Oklahoma legacy guy, are going to want him here at this program. But again, this is kind of what I was alluding to at the beginning. Sometimes you're not going to be able to take all of the great in-state talent because they might not be able to compete at an SEC level. Now, with saying that, I think Katie Jones is an excellent running back, and I think he could compete at the SEC level. But Oklahoma is... this is going to be a common trend here. I mean, you see it with guys like Riley Kester and guys like that, where Oklahoma just really has not kicked the tires around, where in the Big 12, you might take them in the SEC or not. And so with Katie Jones, obviously you see Oklahoma pulling back here. You see this one trending away. You're looking at schools like Oklahoma State, who I think is probably right now got to be the favorite in the Katie Jones recruitment. But a school like Kansas or Louisville, they're right behind Oklahoma State right now. So if Oklahoma loses Jonathan Hatton, can they get back into Katie Jones recruitment? I think yes. But I think if you're Oklahoma, you're going to have to show a good sign of faith here and maybe pony up a little bit more on the NIL front than you originally wanted to re-entice Katie Jones to come back and look at Oklahoma in a way where you kind of backed off of him. And I'm not saying Katie Jones recruitment is all going to be NIL based, but, kind of upping that offer a little bit shows a good sign of faith of, hey, like, listen, we still want you. We're still interested and we want you to be a Sooner. We want to keep you in state, especially with him being an Oklahoma legacy guy. So that's kind of what's going on in terms of running back recruiting. Now, Colin Kennedy over at 247 Sports dropped an article, and he put a little excerpt from it up here on his Twitter post. And I want to talk about this because Jabari Brady, a 2026 4-star wide receiver out of the state of Florida, Oklahoma has recently kind of emerged as a team that could ultimately land Jabari Brady's recruitment. And Jabari Brady is a guy that he could make an impact for Oklahoma. Really good relationship with current 4-star quarterback commit Jaden O'Neal. And I think that's where this one kind of sits, right? Does Oklahoma hold on to Jaden O'Neal? And if they do, does a guy like Jabari Brady want to jump on board with Jaden, right? So you're looking at him, Colin Kennedy, kind of interviewing him. You guys have to go subscribe to 247, read the full interview there. But he says on a recent visit, like, they made my mom cry the way that they offered me because they showed to my mom I'm a special player they want. And so you look at this and you hear this and you think, okay, Oklahoma's probably going to be in a top 3 here. Oklahoma's going to have a very good shot. They're going to get an official visit for Jabari Brady. Can they close the door in a year where you want Oklahoma to go out there and get multiple elite guys at the wide receiver position? I thought this was just an interesting note. It seems like Oklahoma's continuing to trend really well in this recruitment. It's one Oklahoma fans should definitely be paying attention to. And so, guys, if you guys have made it this far and you guys have not already, make sure you guys hit that like, hit the subscribe button, make sure you guys join the discussion, jump in the comments below, and let me know what you guys' thoughts are.